Of the Metropolitan Traffic and Parking Commission. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. I ask for an approval of the agenda today.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I seek approval of the minutes. We seek approval of the minutes of the February 12, 2017 meeting. Is there? Yes.
Chairman, I have a change to that meeting.
Okay.
I had to recuse myself from item 6. Staff has made a note of that and will correct it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended.
Okay. We have a first. Julie, if you'd please note that for the record. Okay. We have a first with. Second. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes of the February 12th meeting have been approved. Approval of the consent agenda. Please note that items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the Commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the Commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Commissioners, are there any items on the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove and defer item number D, remove the truck restriction on Couchville Pike.
Okay. Are there any other items?
I just had some questions about consent agenda number 4, if we could just talk about that.
And if we could also remove number 1, I've got a conflict with both 1 and 4. So if I could recuse myself from those two.
You'd like to recuse yourself from item 1 and 4. All right.
And vote on those separately, please.
Okay. So if we could get a motion to remove item 1 and 4 from the consent agenda. Because she can't. Okay, we have a first. We have a first and a second to remove item 1 and 4. We have a first on Ms. Woods to remove item D. Is there a second on?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor of removing those items?
Aye.
Aye. The consent agenda is modified. The consent agenda is modified. Item 2, proposal number 2017-005AB-001, a request for approval of the abandonment of a 20-foot wide strip of right-of-way along the western margin of Tuffing Court from Cockrell Bend Boulevard southwestward, approximately 950 feet in length, request by Metro Public Works applicant. Proposal number 2017-006AB-001, a request to abandon a portion of alley number 2004 and associated easement from Fern Avenue to alley number 2003 between 116 and 118 Fern Avenue, requested by Metro Public Works and Heathcock Construction, LLC applicant. Proposal number 2017-008AB-001, a request for approval of the abandonment of Lanham Avenue and easement from Lebanon Pike northward to dead end and alley number 2062 and easement from Alejandro Place westward to Lanham Avenue, requested by Metro Public Works and Music City Pick Apart GP applicants. Proposal number 17M009AB001, a request for approval of the abandonment of a portion of alley number 1705 from Westmont Avenue to alley number 1702 between Lynbrook Road and Cantrell Avenue, utility easement to be retained, requested by Alex Waddy and Metro Public Works applicant. Resolution 17-03, authorize all-way stop on Lake Walk Drive at Pin Oak Drive, District 33. Authorize stop on Dovecote Drive at Creve Road, requested by council members Jeremy Elrod, District 26. Authorize all-way stop at 46th Avenue at Indiana Avenue, requested by council member Mary Carolyn Roberts, District 20. Remove loading zone on 8th Avenue at Church Street in front of Nashville Sporting Goods, District 19. Authorize loading zone at 2111, please note the correction, Belcourt Avenue, District 18. Authorize no parking or standing anytime on 8th Avenue at Church Street, District 19. Authorize truck restriction on South Hamilton Road at Doak Avenue, District 2. Authorize truck restriction on Seminary Street from Baptist World Drive to Cassia Street, District 2. Authorize truck restrictions on Longfellow Drive at Pennington Bend Drive, District 15. That is the consent agenda as modified.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, please vote by showing your right hand. The consent agenda has been approved. Okay. Now read the two items that have been removed. Proposal number 2017M004AB001, a request for approval of the abandonment of an unnumbered alley right-of-way and associated easement from South 10th Street to alley number 292 between Russell Street and alley number 199, requested by Barge, Wagner, Summer, and Cannon Inc. applicant. Okay. Is there any questions or comments about this?
I'll move to approve.
We have a first
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passed. Resolution. Proposal number 2017M007AB001, a request for approval of the abandonment of a portion of the south side of Demonbreun Street from 5th Avenue South to 6th Avenue South to 8th Avenue South, a portion of the east side and west side of 6th Avenue South from Demonbreun Street to Korean Veterans Boulevard, a portion of the west side of 5th Avenue South from Demonbreun Street to Korean Veterans Boulevard, a portion along the north side of Korean Veterans Boulevard at the intersection of 8th Avenue South, utility easement to be retained, requested by Metro Public Works and Barge, Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon Inc. applicant. Ms. Kern, you had some comments about item number 4, please.
Well, I just had a couple questions. Since this is a priority bike corridor and there's a bike lane that goes along here, and I know you said it was going to be all the same lanes were going to be maintained, but I was just hoping you could give me a little bit more information on what the changes will be for the people walking and biking.
We have a guest with us today that could probably catch us all up on.
Yes.
From what I understand, between curb lines, the road itself and everything in it will remain the same. The ownership of the sidewalks is what we're talking about.
Okay.
But you take it from here.
Please introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
I'm Larry Adam, a Senior Project and Development Manager for Music City Center and a number of other Metro capital projects. This is confusing. We get it because we have worked on it. Let me pull the lens back a ways and kind of tell you why all this is going on. When we filed the original plat, Music City Center wasn't fully completed, nor the streets around it and all the work that we did. So this is, in a big picture, a correction of a host of things, not only what is on your agenda, but others. It physically kind of stays the same. We're taking a little bit of right-of-way back, largely to enhance the bus movements, which was the original concept, but didn't get into the original plat. We're giving some right-of-way back to Public Works along 8th, and we're clearly identifying, which we had not done in the early because we didn't know how to do it, a pedestrian path all the way around every aspect of the building. And when you look at the plat, it's just crazy to look at because there's so many lines. But for months, we've been working with all the agencies and departments to get that. So essentially, everything looks and stays the same. We're just getting the lines right this time. Does that answer your question?
Yep, that pretty much
Okay.
answers it.
All right. This would be the longest plat I've ever worked on in my career. So
All right.
it's
Thank you.
crazy complicated.
Thanit you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. All right. Any,
Nope. Well, in that case, I'll move to approve.
we have a first?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? The motion's been approved.
And again, I abstain. Thank you.
Okay, and please note for the record the abstainer. All right. And then under Resolution 17-03, remove truck restrictions on Couchville Pike requested by Councilmember Holly Huzo, District 13. I know we've had many comments about this, Chip.
It's always best to slow down and take your time and get it right when you start getting a few calls and emails. So we're going to slow the horse down, and we're going to have some conversation with the neighbors and the council lady, and then we'll bring it back to you at some date. So I'm requesting a 1-month deferral.
Okay. Hey,
Motion for 1 month deferral.
we have a motion to defer, remove and defer.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Mr. Chair, we do have a visitor here on that topic. I just want to clear, do you want to speak today or do you want to wait?
Would it be more time, whatever, if we just communicate with you in the next month,
That'd be perfect.
rather than taking up time here?
That'd be
Okay,
perfect.
that'd be
I just
great.
wanted to make sure.
Thank you for your participation. Okay. The next items on the agenda, we have 4 appeals on the agenda. It's my understanding that these, we may be seeking a deferral on these, is that right? Okay, Councilmember Swoop. Okay.
No, that's Russ Pulley.
Russ Pulley, okay. All right, I didn't think,
For clarification, Councilman Swoop has requested a deferral on number 4.
okay.
And Council Lady Johnson requested a deferral on items 1 and 2. The request for deferral on 3 is us. Our data was corrupt.
Okay, all right, because that says council member,
Bircher for 3.
yes, okay. And Mr. Pulley,
Yes, sir.
what, are you here for item number 3 on old business?
Is that the one on Cleghorn?
Yes,
Is that the appeal?
yes, okay.
Chip, how long do they need these deferrals?
1 month on the 4 stop sign appeals, please. And then we'll take the old business one at a time.
All right,
Take them all at one time, maybe?
all right, so, all right,
Motion to defer 1 month, items 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the appeal.
Second.
Do we need, can we take them as a group?
We
Legal?
could say we could.
okay. Come on. All right, so there's been a first and a second to remove items 1 through 4 under the appeal agenda.
Deferred 1 month.
Deferred 1 month. Okay. Thank you. So we have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Those 4 items are deferred. Okay. Under old business, proposal number 2017-007-PR001, a request for an ordinance approving a parking agreement between the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Traffic and Parking Commission and Warner Music, Inc. for the use of up to 35 parking spaces for a fee in the library parking garage requested by the Metro Legal Department applicant. This is deferred from the last meeting. It's my understanding this may be deferred again. Is that correct?
We have spoken with the Downtown Partnership, and they're requesting a 1-month deferral.
Okay. Do we have someone who will make a motion, please?
Make a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Mr. Pulley, we're going to move to your item next. and appeal denial of an all-way stop on Crestmore Road and Cleghorn Avenue requested by Councilmember Russ Pulley, District 25, deferred from the February 13, 2017 meeting. Mr. Pulley.
Yes, sir. I'm just here to speak on behalf of my request and tell you what we're interested in doing. I'm not here to speak on the technical aspects of it. I'll let Chip deal with that. But absent any real serious traffic issues, the purpose for this three-way stop is we have an intersection there. Currently, they're building 2 hotels, and they've got another one under consideration on the other side of the street. And we've got some problems with that particular intersection where Crestmore and Cleghorn meet. So what we came up with, Mr. Word and some other engineers and Scott Kendall, the people who are developing the hotels, we looked at several options, and my preferred option was the three-way stop for a couple of reasons. Number one, we were having some real difficulty in the Bedford and Whitney area with traffic coming from Crestmore and continuing on to Crestmore into the Bedford area. And it really goes downhill from there, and there's no real anything to mitigate the speed with which the cars travel. So our proposal on down the road, if we get the three-way stop, is to come back again and see if we could close off Crestmore at that intersection and take the island that currently is there, extend it out and abut the adjacent property. The Kendall people were willing to maintain it moving forward, and what the three-way stop would allow is for the people who want to extend out Crestmore, they would then have to go around the curve, hit the stop sign, and take a right and go in at that angle. So that's one of the safety components we like about the three-way stop. Another very important feature is we've got a lot of neighbors who live in the area, Abbott Martin, Valley Brook, and the area to the west of Bedford. And we want to increase their ability to have a pedestrian means of travel to the mall. That's been a great concern, and the real difficulty is getting across Hillsborough Circle or Cleghorn, and that's an entry point for a number of people. So this creates a way to make a safe transition from one side of the street to the other. So for that reason, I'm supportive of the three-way stop, and I'd like your consideration for that request. Happy to entertain any questions you might have.
I guess we'll hear from staff first, please.
Yeah, here's the tricky part. Those are the reasons to do it, the pedestrian crossing primarily. Mm-hmm. And the parklet would be great. Here's where I'm a little confused. I've talked to Tom a little bit, and Tom, we all need to get back on the same page a little bit. I think Tom seems to think he wants to defer on this one, Tom White. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with the all-way stop if you're wanting the all-way stop. The reason we have been deferring it from the staff point of view, with it under construction, we can't collect data. And that's us. We're the engineering guys. We got to have data. So I'm okay with approving the all-way stop. And if we decide not to do it at a later date, we come back before you and say it's not a great idea. We just don't have the numbers in front of us to say yes or no right now. And that's why we've kind of been kicking this can down the road. The pedestrian crossing in that area, and we all see the people coming from the new development over there over to the mall. So I could see the protected crossing helping the pedestrians, and I'm okay with approving the all-way.
Okay, that sounds good to me. And if your data should show something different, because there is a concern if this is going to cause unnecessary traffic backups, then we may want to rethink this. But I don't have any information before me now that would indicate that to be the case. So that said, I would certainly recommend the approval of the three-way stop.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from commissioners?
I was curious, since it's under construction, what are the plans if the all-way stop moves forward? And is there a temporary, pedestrian island, or kind of what would happen to the third leg in the interim?
You see where that, all right, right now this road is kind of discombobulated where Crestmore bleeds out into the Cleghorn intersection. If you look at the island where right adjacent to the Word Crestmore Road, mm-hmm. that island we want to expand, and what we'd ideally like to do is shut off Crestmore right where it is now and extend the island back into the front parcel adjacent to it right now. The people who occupy that building is the doctor's office. They're very supportive of that thought and idea, and Scott Kendall and the LA Green and the people who are a part of that development are very supportive of the idea and have agreed to essentially maintain the island. It would expand the size of the island. It would create somewhat of a pedestrian park there we could take advantage of. And where we would make the pedestrian crossing, we'll just have to figure that out at some point once this makes sense to me to maybe do it on the northeast side of the three-way stop. But, I'm open to whatever makes the most sense.
Well, I think it's definitely a great idea. I know there's a lot of people walking back and forth there.
And we wish we had more people walking in that commercial district, and our infrastructure's garbage, so this is one of the ways we can help that process, because there's a lot of people who are at least talking about wanting to walk back and forth to the mall from that area. And
So spin that back around, Corby. See that little slip lane, the do not enter lane? They're talking about closing that off, making
Right.
that island.
you see where those
larger.
cars are, bring the island back right where Heritage Medical Associates are, and just to extend it right to the front lawn of that area. And there's a pediatrician's office in there, and I get complaints occasionally about people coming down the hill too fast, and of course the people at the Whitney, they're concerned about that as well, people in Bedford, because what happens is it goes to a downhill slope, people extend downhill, and they just increase their speed rather than decrease it there, and this creates a little buffer to mitigate all that, so they're starting from scratch at a sidewalk, which I think would make a significant difference.
But we don't have it designed per se, but I see your question.
We have a general.
You got the concept plan.
The generalities are what I've told you, but the design will come later.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second?
All right, we have a first and a second on this item. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, move for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion passes. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you very much.
Always
Appreciate your
your
help. Always a pleasure coming before this great group.
We're always a pleasure to see you. Thank you. All right. Item 2, authorized residential permit parking on Carruthers Avenue from 12th Avenue to 11th Avenue. This was deferred from our last meeting, February 13, 2017. Are there people in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Okay. And Chip, is the council member here today? I do not see him in the
Council
audience.
member is not here. We've reached out to the council member and waiting for a reply back from the council member on this particular item.
Okay. All right, well, we have members of the audience who are here. I think what we'll do is we'll open this for a public hearing, and if we could keep our comments to 3 minutes, and when you step up, if you would introduce yourself, please. So I'll start with you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kim Carter, and I've lived at 1109 Carruthers Avenue, which is 2 houses off 12th Avenue, for 18 years. This is the first residential parking permit petition that my husband and I have ever participated in, because we were so happy when the businesses moved in. I don't know if you remember that neighborhood before, but we had a car wash, we had drug dealing going on, and we've been thrilled with the businesses. And the reason that we have changed at this point is when Five Daughters Bakery moved in, which is directly across the street, people started blocking our driveway at an average of 3 times a week. Some days it's 3 times in a 24-hour period. We have tried different ways to approach people about this. We started off with notes on their cars, leaving our phone number to talk to them about that. We were texted by people saying that this was the tax that we pay for living there. It's been amazing to us, the response that we've gotten. People have also told us that they will just be there a second. In the meantime, my sons have missed their swim practice. they've told us that they're only partially blocking our driveway, so it's okay. We call the police on a regular basis now, but the police have other matters to attend, and sometimes, most of the time, miss the cars that are parking in front of our driveway, so there's no accountability. And I don't believe that it's the Metro Police Department's primary job to come ticket the cars in front of our driveways. Now, when we're talking this block, it's 5 homes. And I have talked to the people on the entire street, and most people from 11th to 10th to 11th do not, first of all, they don't have driveways, and they do not want parking. A lot of those homes are rental properties, and they are also, there are 3 homes probably in about 10 on that street that do want parking, but the rest of them don't. And as you know, that does not meet the parameters for getting residential parking on that block. But on our block, everyone wants it. And it's because we have driveways, they are being blocked on a regular basis. So that's it. Thank you.
Is there someone else who'd like to speak about this matter? You could please make sure you introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Dolan. I'm one of the owners of Mafiosos, and I'm also a partner in Five Daughters Bakery. We were here back in 2013. I believe there was a residential permit parking application that was put forth for both this street, Montrose and Gilmore, and ultimately that was overturned by the Chancery Court. But the reason I'm here today is simply we want to get along with our neighbors, and we've been trying to do that for a lot of years. We've been there for coming up on 14 years now. And I empathize with people who come up and park where they shouldn't. We try to tell all of our people that they shouldn't park anywhere near people's driveways and things on side streets. But really what I'm here is, and I did have a conversation with Councilmember Sledge about it, really what we're looking for is we want to make sure that this commission and that the chief traffic engineer have gone through what the requirements are under the Metro statute, under the ordinance, the 12.42.030, and done a written report to the commission that outlines all the factors set forth in that ordinance, specifically how this request for residential permit parking relates to the proximity of the neighborhood major parking attractors. If some of you don't know, Waverly Belmont was just reopened on this street. There are 4 new homes that were built here, and thankfully, in accordance with the 12 South Avenue detailed neighborhood plan, they built either new driveways off of Carruthers to accommodate the off-street parking for those homes. The ones that are directly next to the school, and then 2 down by 10th. They put actual garages off the alley. And the other side of Carruthers, there's an alley. So one of the things we would like is we'd like to know, like to have an opportunity to look at that detailed written report that outlines how that factors in, how it affects the 2 churches that are on bookends, Midtown Friendship on 12th Avenue South, directly across from Carruthers, and also Greater Christ Temple Church, right at the bottom of Carruthers. And we believe that all 13 of the houses that are on this block all either have a driveway, curb cut, alley access. They have ample off-street parking. 2 of the homes on it are actual in the commercial district. Unfortunately, her house is right next to that line, which is where the commercial line stops, and there's a house there and then the house directly across. But we would urge the commission either to defer it so there'd be further discussion and compliance with the statute, or that we defer it another month to give everybody an opportunity to take a look and make sure we address everybody's issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Dolan. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak to this matter, please? If not, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Commissioners, any comments? Staff?
I'd like a little bit of explanation, if I could, from staff, because we've approved residential parking permits and there's a process. You get a percentage of the people that live there that signed what's needed. Is that correct? Or help me out. I mean, like I said, when they come to
According
us.
to the petition process, you have to have 75% of the residents in favor of permit parking. You also have to have a letter of support from the council member. We have to verify the availability of off-street parking for the residents that have requested it. We also have to verify the number of vehicles that are parked on the street that are not registered to residents. We also have to verify the impact from businesses as it relates to the parking on the street.
And where are we with this permit process?
We do have the petition form. We have went out, we've done our inspections. We do have a letter from the council member. I think at this time, I think what we should do is do a 30-day deferral so we can reach back out to the council member and make sure we have everything in order according to the code.
Thank you.
Let me, 2013, I think just the three of us was on this commission at that time, and we went through this by the record and still got sued. The commission was sued, it went to court, and they still won. And we went exactly.
Well, we didn't. You guys did.
We did. We got
we
in
did
trouble
not.
for it, right?
It is very specific in the Metro Code about the process. I say very specific, as specific as the code is. And we did not follow the code step by step, and it got hung up in court, and we removed the signs. That's what
That was on
you're referring to
Gilmore,
when you
is
say,
that
what's
right?
the process? It's spelled out in the
That was
code.
on Gilmore?
Gilmore, Carruthers, and
All three streets. Yeah.
one Montrose. So that's what Diane's referring to. We want to make sure our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, because we don't want to go back through this again. The primary component is council member recommendation. And that's why we owe him his day at this commission. And maybe we all meet with the council member. It sounds like we need some do not block driveway type things out there. There's probably a happy ground in the middle. We just got to find out where that is. And to do that, we all got to sit down together.
Okay, Chip, Baronis, is this the same thing when it came up? Didn't y'all have an attorney representing y'all at the time? That was you? Were you the one that suggested that the homeowners park in the alley in the back?
What we were recommending is that
Yeah.
they utilize the alleys, that's correct.
Well, now we have Urban Grub who utilizes the alleys, and so do all their food trucks and their alcohol trucks, and it's, I mean, they're leaving potholes in our alleys.
Right, and you know, my recollection of this was, if you're coming in at your home at night at 10 o'clock, do you want to pull down that alley and it dark and pull into your house when somebody's got you blocked in the front?
Right.
You know, that was my feeling that y'all don't have to park in the back, you know, and, you know.
And if I could add to that, I mean, just, you know, being in an area with a lot of alleys, my own house doesn't have an alley, so we've run into that where people have blocked ours and we end up parking on the street. But with an alley concept, though, I mean, there may need to be improvements along that where the, you know, efficient lighting and things like that, because it is more efficient to have that access through the alley. And I think that provides that on-street parking for your, you know, guests too, for people that come to your house and for the businesses and things like that. So having that parking, I mean, the way these streets were, it was originally designed was, from an urban planning standpoint, was to have this parking for residential off the alleys. Now, I think it sounds like you said, Chip, that there's more issues going on. You know, maybe those potholes need to be filled in, lighting, you know, and I still think if they're breaking the law, blocking your drive, they're certainly going to break the law for a residential permit. So both of those are going to be enforcement issues. So working with the police and addressing those.
Well, I think the issue we had in 2013 was the statement made that the residents should use the alley. I think that was what we got hung up on. And if I buy my home, I shouldn't be forced to have to use an alley.
Right.
Well, when you look at that curb cut, it's an access management issue. So it does get into, if you're permitted for just access off your alley, then there's, in a historic district, then it does create more issues, because when you put that driveway in, you're then taking away a spot on the street. So if you've got access, if you've got alley access, like I said, then you're basically, you've got access from 2 points, not only the back, but the front,
But these
too.
are not new cuts in this area. These are a few, but for the most part, I grew up in the area.
Not on this street, not on
Yeah.
this block.
Right, and your specific issue, so you have alley access?
I do, because when the economy fell and Mafiosis first opened, people were getting mugged. And so I had 2 small children, and we would come home at night, and I told my husband, I said, we've either got to move, or we've got to put a driveway around back so I can safely get my kids out of the car. So we have a slide gate. But we also have the front, and now my children are grown, and I have a 16-year-old, and so we're trying to manage like all the cars and,
Well, it sounds like some improvements to the alley, but certainly that access is preferred, because there again, you get to free up the street, and then you get to reclaim that space that you're dedicating to a drive out front, for green space.
Okay.
Well, a person that pays $400,000 or $500,000 for a home shouldn't be forced to have to go to the alley. What if you have a company? How's that company going to know which alley to go to get to your house?
Well, you could also see that, by you having that additional driveway out front, that you're taking away, from the public street that we all want to use, to have that additional parking space, because that width of the driveway is 12 feet or what have you.
But you're taking away the owner's rights, too.
Right. I think Commissioner Woods has some comments.
I think living closer into town, I certainly see this all the time, and you want businesses to succeed, but at the same time, it's property owners. These people are paying a lot of taxes on this property that they own, and when you have to get out and you can't, it's very frustrating. So, there are good and bad things about alleys. I wouldn't park in one after dark. I just wouldn't do it. And if I couldn't get into the driveway that I'm paying for, I would want to work out some kind of compromise. Again, you want people to succeed, but you shouldn't be blocked to get in and out anytime. Or what if you got to get a fire truck in there?
right.
You know.
Right.
People are blocking the fire hydrant at the end of 11th and 12th. There's a fire hydrant right there on the corner, and that's also getting blocked. I mean, it's just, people are just taking what they can.
Commissioner Kern?
Well, I was just going to say, to Mary, Commissioner Vavra's point earlier, this really does seem to be an enforcement question, because I think your point is correct, that if people are already parking in front of the hydrant and in front of the driveways in every possible way, I don't really see how a residential parking permit is going to make a huge difference, because someone who will park in front of a fire hydrant will equally park in a residential. So regardless of the alley discussion, it seems like the main point here is just enforcement and making sure, or I don't know if there's a way to engineer it or paint it red or something, but so I would be curious if there are solutions kind of to that specific problem as opposed to the.
It all goes back to enforcement, doesn't it?
Or can you paint the curb red?
And it's up to interpretation too. Do not block driveway can be interpreted many different ways, and that's what you're running into. So we want to promote business, and we want to take care of the homeowner as well. And so that's why they put this RPP in place, these residential parking permits. That's a tool we can use if we use it the right way to help the resident who pays the taxes and help the restaurant owner who's built up that area that used to not be so nice, you know. So again, like these other deferrals, maybe we defer, we talk to all the neighbors and the council person and the business owners. We've all been there before, but let's take a new look at it, take the blinders off. Maybe it's a 2-hour agreement where you can park there, 1-hour agreement, you can park there without a permit. We'll put up some do not block driveway signs, we paint the curbs, or whatever we can do, paint the road, I don't know. There's got to be a way to skin this cat, though, and we're not going to figure it out today until we can talk to everybody.
I know that Dolly Parton, her complex is right around there, and on each side of her driveway is a no parking, and there's some room, on each side of the driveway. And, and basically, no parking signs are just for the driveway. And I think with those, at least with our 5 homes, we're gonna have to have something like that.
And we try not to oversign your neighborhood, because then it looks like a circus came to town. And
I know, but
so we'll work with all you and the neighbors and you guys. We'll come up with a middle ground. Somebody's not going to be happy, maybe, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. And then we'll bring that before the commission to vote on.
All right. Commissioners, it looks like we have staff would like to defer.
Motion to defer this one.
All right. We have a motion to defer for 1 month. A second? We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will defer this for 1 month. Are there any other items? Anything else? We hope everyone has a great St. Patrick's Day.
Did we defer the parking agreement officially?
I don't know if we did it officially.
Okay, let's, if we could have a motion to defer to make sure.
Which one?
It's proposal number 2017M.
I'll motion to defer at 30.
All right, Commissioner Kern has made a motion to defer item 1 under old business. We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. That item is deferred. All right.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a first and a second. The meeting adjourned. Everyone have a great day.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.